Like if you're a man watching this right now and you've ever tried to quit drinking or quit smoking and all of your friends are smokers or drinkers, how hard was that process? Did you even succeed? Because one of the scary things in that situation that we can go through is, well, if I don't drink, then I don't get to hang out with my friends anymore. Or what are they gonna think if I suddenly stop drinking? You know, I'm the fun guy. I'm the guy who drinks too much and makes a dick of himself and everyone has a good laugh at. And that's my place in the group. You know, if I don't drink anymore, then I don't have a place in the group. And so it's really difficult to step out of some of those habits, because those habits can be the thing that connects us with the people that we care about the most in our life right now, or the people who we just spend the most time with. And we don't want to feel disconnected. We're human beings. We're meant to feel connected. We're meant to work together on things. Hey mate, I'm Coach Mitch and welcome to the Unbreakable Man podcast. It's my goal to help you achieve excellent results in the area of your health and physical fitness, your career or business, your relationships, and in your own personal passions. This is going to be your one-stop shop if you are the kind of man who wants to achieve his fullest potential in life. And the only way to do that is by becoming unbreakable. What's up, brother? Coach Mitch here, and welcome to this week's episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. Now, in today's episode, I wanted to talk to you about what I think is one of the most important things to get right if you want to be successful in anything in your life. And that is your environment. Specifically in this episode, the people you choose to surround yourself with. I would say that the people who you choose to surround yourself with is the most influential part of your environment. And think about it this way. What's worse? Let's say you have your dream job, but the people you have to work with suck. You hate working with them. You know, they make you feel bad. They bring you down. They're very negative, but the work you do is exactly what you want to do. Or you have a job that you don't really care about, but you love the people that you work with. Of those two scenarios, which one of those would you prefer? Going to work every day knowing that you're alongside people that you really get along with and that you really enjoy spending time around, but maybe doing a job that's not your passion, or doing a job that is 100% your passion, but it's kind of ruined every day because you have to spend time around people that you really don't like. I think that for most guys, including myself, I'd much rather be working the average job with a bunch of people that I really enjoy spending my time with, because I think that has a huge impact on my experience of that work. And I would like to see you apply this same law, this rule, in your life across the board, so that you can have the positive experience and the successful experience in each of the things that you're trying to improve yourself in. So in this episode, what I wanted to basically go through is what you will get out of surrounding yourself with positive, like-minded people. What you'll get out of it, how that's going to impact your life. And then at the end of the episode, help you think of some ways in which you could start to create that kind of a community around yourself. How you could start to find some people like that who are going to help you improve, who can point you in the right direction, who can keep encouraging you to do the right things and stay away from the wrong things, and are ultimately going to have a really positive, long-lasting, across-the-board impact on your life. Now, one of the first things that I wanted to say, and I'm sure you guys have heard this line before, but the line goes like this. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time around. Now, if you haven't heard that before, well, there it is. But if you have heard that before, you might have heard it so many times that it sort of is a throwaway line at this point. But I still think that that holds absolutely true. It doesn't have to be 5 people. It can be any amount of people. But the people you are closest to have a huge impact on the way that you think, the actions that you take, and the results that you are getting. So as you're sitting here listening to this episode, ask yourself that question. Who are the 5 people that I spend the most time around in my life? what do those people have going for them? What actions do they take consistently? What do I like about them? What are they doing to help me get to where I'm trying to get to in my life? Now, the reason why I think this is really important, and this is not me saying that you should immediately cut off any friends that you are identifying as bad influences in your life. But what I'm saying is that if you take a second and you look at some of those people that you spend the most time around, and you notice that the things that they're doing and the life that they're living is not necessarily the kind of things you would like to be doing or the sort of life you would like to be living, then you've got to ask yourself the question, is that person helping me make the changes that I want to make? So perhaps before you can even start to answer the question of who do I need to hang around with, you really have to answer the question of what do I want? What are the changes I'm looking to make? Because for me in my life, whenever I'm trying to accomplish something, the first question I ask myself is, who do I know who has the thing that I'm trying to get, or has some experience in it, or could even point me in the direction of someone else who has already accomplished the thing I'm looking to accomplish? Who's been through this before me? Who can I connect with that can point me in the right direction? Whose experience and whose lessons I can gain from without having to go through the whole process myself? There's always a question I ask myself, and it helps me get from where I am right now to where I want to be so much quicker, because it's like someone coming in and pointing a spotlight down a bloody dark hallway, and you can see everything that's down that hallway, and you can see, where you might trip over, or maybe you need to take this turn. Without that light, you're a lot of stumbling around in the dark until you find your way, which is fair enough, and sometimes you have to do that. But if we can have that light, that would be much more helpful, right? So anyway, going back to the 5 people that you spend the most time around. So let me give you an example of how this can impact your life. So let's say you have your 5 people, your 5 mates that you spend the most time with, and their life routines are the normal stuff. Go to work, come home, sit on the couch, play on the phone, eat dinner, go to bed. Or maybe it's go to work, on the way back from work, you'll stop at the pub together, have a few beers, go home, sit on the couch, eat dinner, go to bed. Because that's what the people that you surround yourself with are doing consistently, as pack animals, we want to fit into the group. So if that is your group of people, and there's nothing wrong with it if that's the case, that's fine. If that's what you want to do in your life, if that's how you are choosing to spend your life, you're truly happy doing that, then go for it. It's not for me or anyone else to tell you what's right or wrong for you. But if you are in a situation in your life right now where, I would like to be better, I would like to be fitter, I would like to be stronger, I would like to be more confident, I would like to be more successful, and the people around you are not doing those things, then without even thinking about it, we are already going to start to reject the things that we need to do in place of the things that we kind of have to do to maintain our position in the group. Like if you're a man watching this right now and you've ever tried to quit drinking or quit smoking, and all of your friends are smokers or drinkers, how hard was that process? Did you even succeed? Because one of the scary things in that situation that we can go through is, well, if I don't drink, then I don't get to hang out with my friends anymore. Or what are they going to think if I suddenly stop drinking? I'm the fun guy. I'm the guy who drinks too much and makes a dick of himself and everyone has a good laugh at. And that's my place in the group. If I don't drink anymore, then I don't have a place in the group. And so it's really difficult to step out of some of those habits, because those habits can be the thing that connects us with the people that we care about the most in our life right now, or the people who we just spend the most time with. And we don't want to feel disconnected. We're human beings. We're meant to feel connected. We're meant to work together on things. So it can be really difficult to pull back from some of those shitty habits that hold us down in our lives, because those habits can also be the glue between us and the other people we spend the most time with. And that's why this is so difficult. That's why who you choose to spend your time around can have a huge impact in your life. If your friends do drugs, the chance that you are going to be doing drugs is much, much higher. So if those are things that you're not happy with, if those are things that you want to change, then you've got to have a look at those people around you and ask yourself, are they encouraging this behavior in me? Are they making it difficult for me to change the things I want to change? And this is also one of the reasons why I harp on a lot about, as a father, you need to be a great role model, especially if you've got quite young kids who you spend a lot of time with, because you are one of those 5 people that your children spend the most time with. Are you a good example? Are you helping them take the steps that you know you would like to see them take so that they can be fit and strong and confident and successful in their lives? And that's why it's so important for you, if you're a father, to be doing all this stuff yourself and to be leading by example, because you are one of those 5 people your kids spend the most time with. And you are having an impact on their results by proxy. So that's something else to consider as well. Now, if you do spend time around people with high standards, people who are pushing themselves, people who are motivated, people who get out and do stuff on the weekend, people who don't feel like they need to drink or need to smoke to have a good time, people who have goals in their life and who are steadily putting the steps in place to achieve those goals. Think about the rule I just mentioned before about how we adjust ourselves to mold to the group that we surround ourselves with. And just in the way that we can adjust ourselves in negative ways to spend time around certain people, that same rule applies if we surround ourselves with people who are fit, strong, confident, motivated, successful, or even just people who are also really interested in doing that and who are consistently doing the work. You don't have to surround yourself with Olympic athletes. You just got to surround yourself with people who do regular physical activity if you want to get fit, because that means that when you're hanging out with these people, you're doing the thing that you need to do to get to where you want to get to. Just by being with them, you're naturally taking those steps. So once again, to fit into that group, to feel like you're a part of something, which is what all human beings want, just to feel like you're a part of something. Now, all of a sudden, you're going, okay, cool, well, bloody hell, what are my goals? What would I like to see in my life? Okay, cool, how fit would I like to be? Yeah, I'd like to be able to do 20 push-ups or I'd like to be able to run 5Ks, whatever it is, simply because that's what the people around you value themselves. And then you start to become a reflection of that same group attitude. And one thing that's worth pointing out is never ever lose yourself in the group, obviously. Take the actions that you want to take because you sincerely see the value in taking them yourself. But if you have those values and you want to take these new actions in your life to better yourself, then the best thing you could do is surround yourself with people who have similar values and who are taking those same actions that you're looking to create in your life. So that same social rule works in both directions, and you can take advantage of your body and your brain's natural desire to want to fit into the group that you surround yourself with to help improve you and improve your life and improve the example that you set for your kids, improve the way you feel about yourself, improve the results that you see around you in your life. One really great example of this, because obviously I run the Unbreakable Man team here on the Gold Coast, right? So it's really important to me for my own personal well-being and progress to surround myself with high-quality people who are trying to do the stuff that I want to do, that I value. And it's also really important to me to make sure that each of the fellas that I coach are also surrounded by guys, in this case, guys, who are fit, strong, confident, motivated, who are pushing themselves in their lives, who want to be a great example for their kids, And naturally, once again, by surrounding themselves with people like that, they start to see similar results in their life. And one of the things that we do, as well as all the training that we do, as well as the mindset coaching and all that, is I take the fellas out for adventures. And the idea of doing that is to give them some cool experiences, definitely. Help them understand what their fitness now allows them to do, what new experiences they can now have as a result of all the training they've done. But it's also about challenging themselves. It's another challenge. Like, we challenge ourselves in the gym every single week. We challenge ourselves with some of the conversations that we have, but we also challenge ourselves physically doing some of the team events that we do outside of the gym. And we just had one over the weekend. We went up to Kangaroo Point, which is a beautiful spot right alongside the Brisbane River. I love this place. It honestly changed my mind about Brisbane. It's fantastic. It's a about 20-meter high set of cliffs that runs probably 200 or 300 meters alongside the Brisbane River. And I can't believe this place exists. It absolutely blows my mind. In this world of bureaucracy, anyone can go and buy a harness and a rope and can go and throw themselves off this cliff if they want to. No one's going to sign you off on it. There's no one there waiting to see if you have the credentials, that you know how to do climbing or abseiling or set these things up properly. Just if you want to, you can go and do that. Obviously, I wouldn't advise it if you've not got any experience. However, we have some fellas in the group who are experienced, who have done the training courses and whatnot, and we also have some guides that come and help us on the day. But we did climbing and abseiling on Sunday at Kangaroo Point, and I want to tell you two stories, two really great examples of why having solid people around you changes your experience of life. Now, the first story is about my friend Daniel, and I've been working one-on-one PTing Daniel for like 9 years. Like, he's a really, really great friend of mine, and we've been through a lot together. We've done a lot of cool adventures together. And one thing that I've noticed over the years is that he really doesn't like heights, and getting himself in these uncomfortable situations is really stressful for him. Like, some guys can handle it a little bit better, can sort of maybe push down some of the fear or anxiety in the moment and just sort of power through it a little bit. But Daniel, that's not his thing, right? He's a beautifully emotional guy, in the sense that he wears his heart on his sleeve, and it's lovely in some things, but it really holds him back in other things because he feels it deeply. He feels that fear, feels that anxiety. And so he came abseiling and climbing with us. And I don't necessarily think that part of his personality is a bad thing. I actually think it's more admirable for someone to do something that makes them feel that afraid and that anxious than it is for someone who perhaps doesn't feel as fearful or as anxious about it. Like, it's less of a big deal if it didn't challenge you that much, So I took him abseiling, and he wasn't happy about it. And, it was a really difficult decision for him to make. However, and I already knew this because I know him so well. I knew what it was going to be like when he did it. But, he's really on the verge of having like a mini panic attack. And then we get him all strapped in, and like an absolute legend, he just starts taking the steps. He's moving backwards towards the cliff, and he did a beautiful job. I honestly couldn't believe how well he did, because I've seen guys freeze on the edge and really struggle at that crucial moment, and he didn't. He took it in his stride, which was fantastic. However, massive struggle for him. And, lo and behold, after all of the fear, after all of the anxiety and all the nerves, he gets to the bottom of the cliff. He's safe and sound, obviously. And this guy is overjoyed. He's overjoyed with what he's just managed to accomplish. It's a huge deal for him because of how difficult that decision was initially and how emotional that situation felt for him. But it was absolutely wonderful seeing that huge smile on his face. And one thing that is really true about that is there's no way in hell that my mate Dan would have ever had that experience had he not been surrounded by other people who he knew, who he trusted, who cared about him, and who were doing this thing together themselves. Simply by surrounding yourself with people who push themselves, who are open to new experiences in life, you naturally end up having new experiences. And what's really important about that, because you might not give a shit about abseiling or climbing, which is fine, but what that is doing for you is it's helping you become more comfortable with having new experiences. Because there are many things in our lives that we would love to achieve, that we'd love to experience, but there's a lot of fear and anxiety between where we are today and getting to that point. And whilst climbing and abseiling might not be your jam or something that you actually give a shit about, overcoming fear in one area helps you overcome fear across the board. Because fear is fear, whether it's fear of heights or fear of rejection, it's still the same physiological response that comes up in your body. You become a braver person simply by facing fear in any area of your life. You become braver across the board. And most of us never have experiences like that because it's hard to put yourself in that situation. And we also don't know enough to know how we could have that experience. But you surround yourself with people who also want to do that, who also want to create great lives for themselves, be a great example for their children. The likelihood that you're going to get to have experiences like that and be in situations where you're going to have to learn how to deal with fear and challenge vastly improves. And that's exactly what Daniel's experience was like. And, you know, if you go onto the Unbreakable Man _challenge Instagram page, you can see the video before and after of Daniel's abseil. So Unbreakable Man _challenge. Check out the Instagram page. You can see this video. And it's like you can see the fear and anxiety on his face before, and then afterwards you can just see this incredible smile. You know, he's so pumped, he's so happy, so proud of himself. And that doesn't happen often without having a great environment and great people around you. You know, it's very, very unlikely that, I mean, Daniel, like I said, there's no way he ever would have done that if we were doing it on that day. It just simply would not have been on his radar, and it would have been really difficult for him to push himself to do that without people around him that he trusted. So that's a huge way in which surrounding yourself with great people will open your life up to so much more possibility and make you a better man for yourself and your family. Now, the second story from the same event was from a mate of mine called Damien, and he had a great point. We had a really good chat about this afterwards, but this was with the climbing. And, you know, the climbing is really challenging too from a heights perspective, because abseiling, whilst you have to do that backwards tip off the cliff, which is a bit freaky, physically it's very easy. Like, anyone can abseil. I've seen fellas who are 60 years old and overweight and, you know, have health issues who still manage to abseil, you know, safely. But climbing's a different thing. Like, you want to have some fitness and some strength about you to climb, and also even some technique as well. So climbing is a little bit more challenging. And Damien was going for his climb, and you know, he was definitely a bit freaked out by the height. And the height is high. It's like imagine climbing the outside of a 6-story building. That's about how high these cliffs are. 6 stories, maybe 7. So no, definitely, you want to respect that height. So he's climbing, and when you're climbing, if you've never done climbing before, you have yourself, you have a harness, you have a rope attached to your harness. We do a top rope, which means that the rope goes from your harness all the way up to the top of the cliff, hooks through a carabiner at the top of the cliff, and then comes back down to your friend on the ground who's belaying you. And basically your friend on the ground is pulling the rope. As you climb up, you're creating slack in the rope. He pulls the slack out of the rope and keeps it tight on his end, so that, you know, if you do fall off the cliff, you don't fall, right? You just sit into the harness. So the belayer is coaching the fella who's climbing, you know, giving him some tips if he's not too sure where to go next. You know, the belayer has a good perspective and can coach you through that. Now, the belayer in this instance was a really good friend of mine, Mike, who's kind of one of the leaders in the group as well. And he's instructing Damo on where to put his hands and feet and how he can make his way up that cliff. And one of the really challenging things about rock climbing is that, you know, you're searching for the grip whilst you're trying to hold yourself onto this cliff, you know, and it takes quite a bit of strength to do that, especially if you don't know how to do it really efficiently. So you're using a lot of strength there, so you kind of want to make sure you get those grips nice and quickly. But sometimes You just kind of have to make a move and trust that the grip is there. Trust that the handhold is there. You don't necessarily know it yet, and you might not have the freedom in your position in order to sort of feel around and just slowly find that grip, because you might be in a position where if you don't move quickly and grab something quickly, you're going to fall back off when you go to move your hand. So Damo was in a position like that, and you panic a little bit, because oh bloody hell, where do I go from here? And Mike's giving him some instructions saying, Damo, there's a grip right above your hand. If you just reach up, mate, you will find that grip, guaranteed. And that right there is the beauty of surrounding yourself with people who want the same thing that you want and who have perhaps already achieved the thing that you are looking to achieve right now. Because what that situation tells me, what I get from that, is that, Mike's done this climb a few times. He knows that grip's there. He's gotten past this point before, and he knows the solution is right there for Damien, if Damien just takes it. But Damien's never done this before. He has no idea that that grip is right there for him. The solution to his problem, which is to make it to the next part of the cliff, is right above his head, and he has no idea about it because he can't see it, and he doesn't have the time to feel around for it before he makes it. And so one of the things that having great people around you and people who have perhaps already achieved the thing that you are looking to achieve around you is that, once again, they shine that light on the problem for you to help you find the solution. Now, in that instance, Damien could have never taken that leap of faith, and he never would have gotten past that point. And so his ability to succeed is limited by what he can see, and his vision is limited by what he's experienced before. He doesn't know what this next bit looks like. He hasn't got a vision of it. He can't see it. But a guy like Mike, who has been up that exact route before, he sees it. He knows the solution is there for Damien. And if there's trust and love between Damien and Mike, which there obviously is, we all work out together, we train together, we fucking push ourselves together, then and Damien knows that Mike's been through this position before, then all Damien needs to do is have a guy like Mike tell him, dude, all you need to do right now, man, is shoot that right hand up, brother. There's a grip right above your head. You can't see it from where you are, but I promise you it's there. If you just shoot that hand up, you'll find it straight away. And that's exactly what happened. And that's what having great people around you in your life will do for you. They will shine a light on the things that we don't see because we just simply haven't been there before. Oftentimes, where we sort of stop in life is dictated by our previous experience and what we know is true and what we don't know. And what we don't know is that kind of that dark line beyond what we do know, what we can see. And it's really difficult to take an unknown step in past that dark line. Sometimes you just have to do it. You have to make that leap. Like even Damien in that situation still had to trust Mike. He still didn't really know, but he just believed in Mike because he trusts him. So he went for it. But in so many ways in our lives, we're going to have to step into the unknown if we want to get to where we're trying to get to. And we need to have courage to do that. And as much certainty as we can find. And what having great people around you will do is provide you with that certainty. Because they've been there before. They know it's safe. They know it's safe in that unknown place. Because they've been there before. Like, brother, if you just take that step, guaranteed you'll find the thing that you're looking for. Because I know, I've been where you are, and I know what that next place looks like. And that's what having great people in your life will do for you. It will absolutely transform your abilities, your ability to take action, your ability to commit wholeheartedly to the things that you say that you want. And that's why it's so bloody important to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with folks that are encouraging the best of you and discouraging the worst of you. So the last thing I wanted to finish off this episode with is, okay, cool, we've had a great chat about it. I hope that you're seeing the point that I'm making here, and I hope that you're feeling like, God damn it, I really need to get around some really solid men, some dudes that can help me elevate my life, elevate my courage, elevate my ability to take action. Here's some things that you can do. First and foremost, you've got to find places where these kind of guys hang out. Think about the things that you want to do first. Before you do anything else, you're going to need to know, what is it that I want? Because that's going to help you, that's going to help guide you to find the people that you're looking for. But what is it that you want? What do you want to get better at? And then it's as simple as, looking in your local area for people who already do that thing. And if you can find them, then you simply make the commitment to show up. And that'll be the hardest step of the whole process. Guaranteed. The hardest step will be the first step of simply taking yourself to that place, not fully knowing what it's going to be like. But I guarantee you, if you have an interest, you find other people who are already working within that same interest, and then you show up to that place saying, hey, look, guys, I have no idea what I'm doing here, but I want to be good at this thing that you guys are good at. Could you help me out? Guaranteed. I don't care what it is that you're looking to do. Those people will be more than happy to have a conversation with you about it. They'll be more than happy to see someone else who's interested in the thing that they're interested in and who wants to get better and improve themselves. And if you're sincere, then you'll find a place in that group, no worries. But that's what you got to do. What is it you're trying to do? And then who in your local area? I personally like face-to-face, but even if there's no one in your local area who's doing the thing you're trying to do, we can go online these days. We can type in, fitness mentor Australia. If you're somewhere in the middle of nowhere where there's no one who's a good coach around you, you could find something like that, or business mentor Australia, whatever it is that you're trying to get better at. If you don't have anyone in your local area who you could connect with, then you have everyone in the world basically at your fingertips just by simply searching online. So yeah, find out what it is that you're trying to do, really get clear on that, and then see who you already know or who in your local area is currently working on that same thing or is really good at that thing. Would be ideal, right? And then connect with that person, send them an email, send them a text. They'll be so happy to find out that someone else is keen to improve themselves. That's how I feel when someone comes to me. I'm like, awesome, man, let's do this. Let's see what we can do. Let's get you to where you're trying to get to. Let's set some goals and let's start putting a plan in place. So it's actually not that difficult. It's not that difficult. The hardest part will be pushing yourself to take that first step. Now, obviously, I'm going to make a nice shameless plug at the end of this. If you are a fellow watching this right now, and you do want to be fit, you do want to be strong, you do want to be confident, you do want to be a great partner for your woman, or a fantastic father for your kids, or even just a better man within yourself, and you don't know where to start, and you live on the Gold Coast, then come and join Unbreakable Man. Come and join the group training every single week. Come and join us on these adventures that we go on. Challenge yourself, push yourself, lose the excess weight that you don't want to be carrying around with you anymore. Build the kind of body that you're looking for. Surround yourself with really great, positive, new mates. And set some goals on how you would like the rest of your life to look as well. And that's the kind of stuff that we do here at Unbreakable Man. And if you've just listened to this podcast episode, hopefully you already see the points that I'm making. Hopefully you like the way that I say things. And you know that if you flick me a text or if you flick me an email, then we can have a good chat about it anyway and see if this is something for you. So if that is something you're interested in, then you can email me at mitch@unbreakableman.com.au, or you can simply head to the Unbreakable Man website, which is www.unbreakableman.com.au. And on there, you can find all my contact details and you can see all the stuff that we get up to. All right. With that said, my friend, have a spectacular rest of your day, and I look forward to speaking to you again on the next episode. Cheers. Hey, mate, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. If you did, it would be absolutely fantastic if you could leave us a 5-star review, because that's going to help us get our message in front of more men who need to hear it. Now, if you have some feedback for me, I'd love to hear that too. Comment down below. And if you just need some mini doses of Unbreakable Man motivation throughout your week, then you can follow us across all social platforms. On Facebook, it's Unbreakable Man Challenge. On Instagram, it's Unbreakable Man _challenge. And on TikTok and YouTube, it's just Unbreakable Man. Your support would be absolutely invaluable. Now, last but not least, do not forget, men aren't born, they're built.